take a look at how Faith Ringgold's quilt uses fabric pieces around her painting. So she did the painting in the middle, and then she has all these beautiful pieces of fabric, and they are mostly flowers and stripes, and the colors, if you look at them, look a lot like the colors that she used in her painting. So it's very nicely coordinated. Not every, like the yellow in here isn't predominant in the painting, but there's little bits of it. But it goes nicely with the reds and the greens and the blues. So all of these colors work really well to unify the piece. She also has her story written in here. Now you're not going to write a whole little children's book story's worth, unless you want to, but you only really need to put a little bit of text. So this is my almost finished piece. Actually, I need to add the canvas on here, but I didn't do it because I didn't have it at school, but I downloaded a piece. So there is one in this assignment for you to grab. I'm going to show you how to add a piece of canvas on here so it looks like it's painted on canvas as well. And you're going to add a little text on here to make a story. So I just picked, I think I picked 4 different pieces of cloth off of the internet, and I cut them into little squares and I formed them around here. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, we're going to look at the Illustrator file. So here's my Illustrator file, and I am finished drawing it. And you can see that the seagulls, you can see some of the other things through the seagulls, but that's okay because they're on different layers. It's important that they're on different layers. Now I have hidden my photos. So when I export this to make it a Photoshop file, it's going to kick out all of those photos and they won't come with it unless you have them showing. So you want them to be turned off because they're not they shouldn't be part of your Photoshop file. It should only be your drawing. So I drew my background on one layer and I colored that in Illustrator just because it was really easy. And so would the birds be, but I want to show you that you can color some of it in Illustrator or all of it in Illustrator, or you can color all of it in Photoshop. It's your choice. But to make this so that the layers export, so you can open it with layers in Photoshop, you're going to go to File. This is an Illustrator file right now. I'm going to go to File, Export, and Export As. And then I am going to change it at the format, and I'm going to use Photoshop PSD. Do not change the extension, just go here and it will change it automatically, see? But don't ever just change the extension. You have to tell it that you want it to be a Photoshop. Now click on Use Artboards, and what that'll do is it's going to cut off the edges. So see how I have a little piece hanging off over here? It'll make sure that it just makes it that 10 by 10 size that I did. I'm going to put it on my desktop and I'm going to click Export. And now you'll get a little window. Make sure that it says Write Layers, not Flat Image. It might default to this, so change it to Write Layers. Maximum editability, anti-aliasing, you can just leave that like this, leave that there. Resolution medium, 150 pixels per inch is how we want it to be at that size that we're exporting it at. RGB color, click OK, and it will save it. Shouldn't take too long, and then it's done. So now I'm done with my Illustrator file. Now I'm going to go on my desktop and I am going to find it, and now I've saved it here. So I have my story quilt. I'm going to drag that onto my Photoshop icon, and it's going to open in Photoshop. So I've got, see how it came in with just the bridge and the 3 different gulls. The gulls are on 3 separate layers, I could merge them all together if I wanted, and I could then merge all of it together. As long as they're not being covered up by this, right? So, or by the bridge. So I'm going to just color them in because they're the only thing I didn't color, and you can see all these lines through them. But once I color them with the paint bucket, whoops, wrong layer. You got to make sure you're on the right layer. So this is this bird. That's that bird. No, it's not. What happened? It's that one. Oh, I need to change layers. Click on that. And then this one must be this. And it's in 2 parts. So now I'm all done coloring. And now I want to add that little bit of canvas to it to make it look like a canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the top layer. So when I drag it in there, it'll go on the top. So I downloaded it from the assignment, which it's right there. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop. So I'm going to just drag it right on. So I go down to my desktop and I get that canvas texture piece and I drag it into my Photoshop file and it puts another layer on here. Where did my painting go? Just double click on it and then click on this and click rasterize layer. And then up here, right above it, it says normal. If you click the drop down, you can choose multiply. Well, you could try linear burn. Oh, that looks pretty nice, actually. But let's see what multiply looks like. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Is that different? It looks a little bit brighter. Let me go ahead with multiply. You can choose some of these other ones if you want to, look at them. But really, probably either linear or multiply. I'm going to use multiply. That was what I usually use. And so now you can see the patterns of that canvas and it makes it look like it was painted on canvas. And now I'm going to add a border around the outside. So to make a border, I need to add some space around there. So remember from when we did our quads, we just changed the canvas size. So I'm going to go to image, canvas size. And I'm going to add 2 inches all the way around. So I want you to put a 2-inch border, which means I'm actually adding 4 inches across, right? Because I'm adding 2 inches here and 2 inches here. So I need to change this to 14. And your image should be 10 by 10. It was supposed to start out that way, so it should be. So 14 and 14, and we're going to leave this like this because we want the border to be around the whole outside edges. So click on that. And now I have this nice border, and that is where I'm going to put my quilt squares. Okay, so remember, let's go back to this. So I'm going to add quilt squares. So now I just go to the internet. I go on the internet and I'm going to make a new window, and I'm going to look for fabric floral. You don't have to do that floral. I could maybe, because right, I got kind of a nautical thing happening, right? Maybe I might want to do nautical patterns. So let's try that. Nautical. See if I like any of it. Yeah, it's all right. That's too navy looking. Oh, this is kind of nice. Maybe I'll do that. So you just go out and you look on the images and you click on the image and you find one. It doesn't have to be super high resolution. This is 450 by 450. It's probably fine. You can just drag it right onto your file and then move it up to the top corner. So before I do that though, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to size it. Look at that, it matches my piece really nicely. I'm going to use the marquee tool and I'm going to make a square. So I'm just going to click on that marquee tool and I'm going to hold the shift key to make a perfect square. and I'm gonna make it 2 inches. Should be. Well, I'm gonna make the perfect square. It depends on whether you wanna shrink it or not. I don't wanna use the whole thing. So I'm gonna make a perfect square and then select inverse and then delete that extra stuff, okay? So now I have my fabric and you can change the color. So this matches my piece pretty well, but it's not quite as bright and I kind of want it to be more bright. So remember, I'm just gonna call this cloud waves. It has kind of like some white caps on it. So I'm gonna mark it as that so I remember. So I'm gonna go to image, adjust, hue saturation. And then I am going to brighten it up a little. I'm going to intensify the saturation. Look at that. See how it changes? See, preview. I just made it a little brighter so it looks like it matches my piece better. So you can change any color that you want. If you like a pattern and you want it to look like a different color, you can always go to hue saturation and change it. And then I'm going to put that up there and I'm going to shrink it down to the corner. And that's my first piece. And then all you need to do is just repeat that. And what I did for my piece was I repeated, this is different than what I'm showing you now, but I just picked 4 different pieces and I repeated them all the way around. So you can just repeat 4 and then you can merge them all together and copy and paste them and put them around the edge. You are welcome to try other things. If you want to get fancy, you can, well, let's look back. If you want to get fancy, see how she's got like some strips on here and she's like, so you could shrink it down and put some long strip pieces. You can set up however you like. Okay, so it doesn't have to be just squares, but that's the minimum. So you have to have at least 4 different patterns going all the way around the border in a nice display of pattern, the way like how I did it here, right? Okay, so that's the minimum, but you are welcome to get fancy and cut them up and arrange them in nice ways. Once you finish that, you're going to add some text. Okay, so you are going to add text by going to the type tool, which is right here. You click on the T. And then I'm going to make mine white because I'm going to type it in this blue part. You can choose wherever you want to put your type, but you should at least just say something about it. So you can click and change the color, and then you should click and drag the box that you want it to fit in. And then you just type in whatever you want. See how it put in the placeholder text. So you can just type in just a little blurb about what freedom means to you as it relates to the work, to the artwork that you made. So you just type it in and then click OK. And I'm just going to use this for now because I'm just demoing, but you can arrange it wherever you want. And then you can change the font. You just go up here and you can change it to a different font. You can look and see what they look like. You can make it bigger or smaller, whatever you'd like to do. But this is the type tool and it's a lot like the Illustrator tool. But if you click and drag to form the square or the shape, then it'll fit in a nice area and then it'll end up looking kind of like that. All right, so that's how you do it. And when you turn it in, what you're going to do is I want you to give me a JPEG. So when it's all done, you'll just go File, you'll save it first, right? Save. And then you'll do File, Save As. And you'll go down and choose JPEG and save that. And then that's what I want you to upload. So keep it to the maximum and just give me your JPEG file in the assignment. Now this is going on the next report card. So if you don't finish it by Friday, then you know, try to get it done when you get back from break, but I would like to start a new assignment then.